What's up, everybody? So, just gonna make a quick video here. I've had a few people ask me about my ammo can that I turned into a side bag for my uh, Suzuki GSA 50. Want to know how I mounted it and things like that. So I thought I'd take the time just to kind of real quick. I'm not going to go into too much detail on how I proceeded to do this. So the first thing I did was obviously I had to find a good spot to mount it, and as you can see, I chose right here, and I just drilled 2 1/2 inch holes into this plate right here, and then put 2 1/2 inch number 8 bolts and nuts, and then lock washers so that it doesn't come off. Get a little bit better of a look there. And then the metal that you see here, I actually bent and drilled it out myself, because they're not going to find anything that's going to be a direct fit, so everything I had to do was custom. So yeah, get started. Kind of give you a run through real quick on what I did and what I used to be able to do everything. So the biggest thing that you need is a table vise, a heavy duty one that's secured to your bench. If you don't have one of those, it's going to make it almost impossible to be able to bend your your supports. Yeah, can't fucking talk. So I got a piece of the raw metal right here that I used, and as you can see, this is half of it. The other half I used, or other parts of it I used for the making the bracket. You can see I just figured out enough distance for the hole for where the bolt's going to go through, enough clearance so that it has a good area of contact, and then I put it into my vise clamp, as you see right here, and then I just bent it in whatever direction that I wanted it to be bent in. I used a hammer to hammer it a little harder with one hand. Like so. And then I grabbed my power drill. Now a battery drill isn't going to have enough power to actually drill through something this thick. You'll go through your batteries way too quick. So what I did is marked out where I want my hole to be. So something like that, just kind of marked like that. And then I got a metal drill bit. I don't know if you can see that, how it's got the different grooves in it, and it's got a slot on the side to clear out the metal shavings as you're shaving it down. Now this one is self-tapping, so you don't have to drill a pilot hole. You can actually just use this and drill right through to it, and then you just figure out, you go to what line works for the size nut. Now I went 1/2 inch because 1/2 inch is kind of standard. It's rugged enough to where it's going to be able to handle the pressure and the stresses of the can bouncing around and whatnot. So after I bent my metal and drilled my holes, I bent it accordingly to how far I wanted the box to sit away from the motorcycle frame. Um, and I actually went about an inch and a half from the curve out to where out to where it flattens out so that the box will mount to the side. And then this one, it's it's not a 90. I got it out at a little bit of an angle, and then like I think it's like a 30-degree angle or whatever works for what you're doing anyway. So you don't have to do it exactly how I did mine. Um, and then I didn't want to drill another hole into my can and have to put more support in the can to be able to support itself. So what I did is I just bent this piece of metal here, and then I got some heat shrink tape, and I wrapped it around the end of it so it's not metal on metal contact. And then after I got this on there, I used a heat gun and I kind of molded it around the end so it kind of protects the can, and I didn't have to drill another hole. So, so there's that. And the way I drilled the holes for the mount is the same way that I drilled these holes. I used the same drill bit, and I went in a half inch, just big enough for my bolts to slide through. You don't want it too big, because then your can will move and vibrate and everything like that. So very tight tolerances. So that's the bracket that is on the bike that I made. And then as for the can, the first thing I did was I put a level on top of the can and kind of positioned it where I wanted it. Now I didn't want the bolts to be straight across like this. I wanted to kind of space out where the mounting point is going to be. Kind of gives it a little bit of strength. And then I did the same thing, just drilled my half-inch holes for my bolts. Same thing, number 8 volts. Drilled those holes. These are bushing washers. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a eighth inch washer with a rubber grommet on each side, and it's just so that it's not metal on metal contact is really what it is. So, and then once I drilled those holes, I went ahead, open this up real quick, and I cut another piece of that metal as an inside support, because as you can see, this is pretty thin. It's only about 3/16 of an inch thick, so it's pretty flimsy, and if you were just to go straight through here, your can would be bouncing around and rattling, and eventually it would just tear a bigger hole. So you want something to be able to take the punishment and give it a little bit more support. So that's what I did on the inside. And once I got it all figured out, just bolt it together. So now I didn't want somebody just to be able to walk up and open up my can, because then it's pointless. It has no security to it. So I went and I picked up, or actually I had this laying around from a custom job that I did where they wanted a lock-in cabinet. So I had an extra one of these cabinet locks, which, I mean, it is what it is. It's a cabinet lock, but it does the job. I went ahead and drilled the hole, just big enough for this to slide in. I didn't want it to be able to wiggle around, or somebody to be able to get a tool underneath it or inside of there and pop that open or something like that. So I went ahead and drilled that hole. Put the inside washer, flange bolt, and or flange washer, and then the ring nut that goes around the actual locking mechanism. Got it to where I wanted it. After it was all said and good and it locked and it worked, I went ahead and epoxied the lock in place, so it can't come out without a lot of force. And then over here, I took a piece of 1 inch by 1 inch. It's 90 degrees, and same thing. Drilled a couple holes, then drilled a couple holes so that the bolts go through, lock washers, and then cut a little bit of this out so that this slides right by it, and then when you lock it, get it in the actual view here, when you lock it, this part right here actually catches and locks the box. As for the carpet, I actually just picked this up at Home Depot. It's just a regular outside carpet, you know, like a welcome mat. It's not super thick. Cut it to place. Same thing in here. I cut it to place. The sides, this piece is one piece. It goes all the way down across the bottom and back up, which you're not going to be able to really see. And then cut some pieces for the inside here. Put them in there, both sides. And then I used some heavy duty spray adhesive, and then stuck it where I want it, held it there for a couple minutes, and it stuck like glue. So, you know, I got everything done. You know, and you don't have to use, you can use whatever bolts you want to use. I recommend grade 8. They're automotive grade. They're super strong steel. These are our Allen key head, as most people don't carry Allen keys around with them. You know, they'll have a wrench or something if they're that determined, but a lot of the times people don't have Allen keys on them. So, you know, once I got everything put on there, I just bolted it up. Go ahead and close this up. And obviously I painted it because it was that tack green, and it really didn't match anything. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. I'm filming this with my phone, so apologize if the quality's not all that good. It just goes in like that. Then you put your lock washer on, and your nut onto the end, and you tighten it up, and away you go. Let me set this. I don't know if it may not stay. Nope, it's not going to stay. So let me sit this down real quick somewhere. Apologize for my finger being in the way, guys. Well, hopefully you see what I'm doing. And the size of the bolts that I'm using, or nuts, not bolts, sorry, nuts, are 7/16 nuts. Another odd size that most people don't have. Get my lock washer on here. Put my bolt This side is a little bit of a pain in the ass to get in. A bit of a tight fit. Right. Hopefully you can see that. So, when it's all said and done, bolts in like so. Kind of hangs out. Well, I hope that was informative. Go ahead and let me know, guys. Tell me what you think. Comment, like it, whatever. And we'll see you on the flip side. Later.